Iodine, B12, and D. Thanks. Yes, absolutely. Those are things that your body always needs. Iodine's essential not just for your thyroid, but for brain function. And D is important for all of us, even those of us who like to be outside like I do now that I don't have photosensitivity. I spend most of my time in this little room right here. So yes, still need to take that vitamin D. And B12 is something for all of us for neurological function. So you do want to make sure you continue those. And when it comes to B12 and D, so it's a good idea to get a test done at least once a year to make sure you're getting what you need, okay? Okay, Smoothie Shred.
Okay, this is from Susan. Question: can you have nut and seed-based salad dressings that are oil-free, or do they interfere with the omega-3 metabolic pathway?
Thank you to my gorgeous husband who's helping me out here. So Susan wants to know if you can have nut-based dressings, if they're oil-free, or will that interfere? It depends on what you're doing, right? So if your goal is to maintain really good health, nuts and seeds are a great part of that, especially when they're raw. They've got vitamins and minerals, all sorts of good things in them. And their ratio of 6:3 is decent for maintenance, right? Because in maintenance, you're hoping to have a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 of somewhere from 9:1 to 1:1 area. And most nuts and seeds are somewhere in that range. However, if you're trying to rapidly reverse disease and get inflammation down as quickly as possible, that can interfere because we're trying to raise omega-3 as much as possible. And so something that is more loaded in omega-6 can slow you down. It also sometimes happens that people have sensitivities. And so when we're doing, for example, in our rapid recovery programs, where we're working with people every day for a very limited time, we don't use them at all because we're trying to race to the finish line, avoid any allergy or sensitivities, and get omega-3 up as quickly as possible. So it really depends on what your goals are and how aggressively you're trying to go after the program. Instagram. All right. Dia says, I'm following a plant-based I'm guessing diet. I'm following plant-based, but I'm still not seeing much recovery. Okay, so there's very little data here for me to actually give you a reason for it, but what I can say is, number one, good that you're going plant-based. If you go plant-based, you're already eliminating the foods that usually get people sick, animal products and processed foods, right? All the oils. Plant-based assumes you're not eating anything processed or oily, whereas vegan just means nothing from animals, but doesn't specify whether it's healthy or not, okay? So if you're doing plant-based, that's a great start. Now, I don't know what disease you're fighting because you didn't tell me, and I don't know what you're eating because you didn't tell me, but what I can say is that if you're not getting results with your current diet, turn up the volume on being anti-inflammatory. Go after hypernourishment. So hypernourishment, again, is how you use nutrition to optimize cellular repair in your immune system. So not every plant-based diet is the same in terms of anti-inflammatory power. If you don't know how to do that yet, my classes where I teach our entire protocol are still free online right now until the 18th. So make sure you actually watch those to see how to optimize that. And if you are doing it, let's say you're trying to do the raw protocol and you're not getting results, go into the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol. My book, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, I teach how your mental health, your emotional state, your sleep, all these other things can lead to sabotage or you're not getting your full recovery. So if you're working on your own, that's a good resource. If you know that you need way more help, like you might have a sensitivity to a food you're not aware of, you know your self-sabotage is beyond what you can handle on your own, that's when you have to look into something like a program with us. So we designed Rapid Recovery to help people on a daily basis to overcome things like that. And we've had so many people who have done Rapid Recovery with us who just on their own were not getting results. And then once we were there every day, we helped them figure out why. A lot of times it's anxiety and depression, terrible self-care, not prioritizing sleep, etc., that's leading to them having those issues with their results. Other times we discover that it is actually a food sensitivity, or they weren't doing it right even though they thought they were. So there's always a next level depending on the trouble you're having. Since I did mention it, let me let you guys know that if those of you looking into Rapid Recovery, our 6-week Rapid Recovery group always sells out. It is a really popular program because it is extraordinary in the results it gives people. And the one that starts July 22nd is already full. So we have a cancellation list that has started. Now, every group, there's always a handful of people that back out right before it starts, and either they say, wait, I'm going to do the next one, or they realize they can't use social media effectively and they just decide to do a private program instead. So there's still a chance that someone on the cancellation list might be able to get into this round. Otherwise, we're booking into the September group. So for those of you who already know you want to do that and you missed this round, then it's possible that you can get in on that cancellation list. If not, don't wait. because every single time it sells out and I get all these messages from people saying that can you squeeze me in? And I can't. We give extreme high levels of support, and we're not going to sacrifice the level of help we give people to get more people in. We're really right now at the max of the people we can help. But even looking at, we're still processing all the results from the group that just ended. And sometimes people will ask me, is it just like 1 or 2 people that get results and then the rest don't? It's the other way around. The people who participate get results. There's not a way to do this and not get results. So I'm looking at just my list right now. Goodbye adrenal fatigue, Epstein-Barr, chronic fatigue, goodbye osteoarthritis pain, goodbye COVID symptoms, smell came back, energy back, goodbye foot pain, elbow pain, goodbye scleroderma and finger ulcers, goodbye proteinuria, regular periods for the first time, lost 50 pounds, kidney function back to normal, burning blood symptoms gone, rosacea better, neuropathy gone. I mean, these are just, it's just amazing. And that's why people do it. So just, if you know you want to do it, please don't keep wasting the time. Make sure you get in there. But like I said, July 22nd, we are now down to the cancellation list. All right, let's see what's next on the Facebook side. Deborah, is it true that you should not eat a lot of fruit when you have Lyme disease? I have Lyme and I eat lots of fruits. I wouldn't make that generalization. What I can say is that for people that I've worked with who have Lyme disease, and we do have people who do our program with that, they have done really well on our rapid recovery protocol, which does happen to limit fruit intake. Fruit is used as a flavoring rather than a meal. So if you're concerned about that, then go ahead and do the hyper-nourishing protocol and just go after results. If you have a suspicion that something's getting in your way, take action on it. It's one of the most important things you can do. Say, if I'm still sick, I need to do something different. So that's my recommendation is if you think that's an issue, do the hyper-nourishment protocol. Again, you can watch the classes to understand more about how to do that. Try limiting those fruits and go after the cruciferous vegetables and see if that makes a difference for you. Okay, smoothie shred.
From Jen. I have been drinking green smoothies with a half a cup of flax, but finally had to stop because of gallbladder pain. I had to stop for a while and then no pain. I started back and went up to a quarter cup of chia and still had some pain. And I'm only having raw now. Any suggestions? Because I want to go up to half a cup.
Did you say Jen or Jim?
Janny.
Janny. Hi, Janny. All right. So the question from Smoothie Shred is gallbladder pain when using omega-3 fatty acids. What to do about that? Okay. So understanding for gallbladder pain. If you have gallbladder pain when you have fats, the reason is because you have some kind of stones in the gallbladder. So the gallbladder is this bag that holds onto your liver enzymes, right? And so the liver is producing the enzymes and then it stores them in this bag called the gallbladder. So it's a nice little purse to keep your extra enzymes in there that help you digest fats. Now, if you develop stones in the gallbladder, which usually happens from the wrong diet, right? So I'm guessing in the past you might have eaten a lot of animal products or oils or other things like most people on the planet have been doing, right? So you form some stones in there. So if you eat anything with fat, even healthy fat like omega-3s, when you go to release some of those fats, the gallbladder will squeeze in order to release the enzymes, right? Not the fats, I'm sorry, but the enzymes. So the gallbladder will squeeze to release those enzymes. And if you've got some hard stones in there, when it squeezes, ouch, those stones will brush up against the lining of the gallbladder, and that creates pain. So what do you do about that? Well, there are many people, it's very common, people who remove their gallbladder. I have had people tell me that they don't have that pain anymore after doing rapid recovery, which is wonderful, and others who still do. Those stones are big, they live there, they've named them, they reside there, and they may or may not want to remove the gallbladder. What else can you do? The other thing we've seen work really well is to space out the fats. And that also works, by the way, for people who don't have a gallbladder. If you don't have a gallbladder, you're still producing these enzymes that you need, these bile and all the things that you need. However, there's no storage area, right? So the best thing you can do is spread it out. So I would start with, number one, it might be better for you to use flaxseed oil instead of flax or chia seeds because the oil is more potent. So while it takes a half cup of seeds to get to the really high hypernourishment that you're looking for, it only takes 3 tablespoons of oil to get more omega-3 than that. So the oil is more potent and a smaller dose, but more expensive. The seeds are very cheap comparatively, but a much higher volume is necessary, right? So the oil might be an easier way to go. And then what I would do is I'd put that 3 tablespoons into the smoothie, and then I would spread it throughout the day. Maybe have split that into 4 or 5 cups, and have a cup maybe every couple hours, so that you have time to spread that out and see if that eliminates the pain for you. Okay, let's see what we got going on Instagram. All right, hold on a second. Sorry, there's a lot. Hold on a second as I scroll through here. Okay. All right. It moved it all the way up for me, so I have to get through. You guys on Instagram are always super active. I love it. Sorry. Okay. Goodness gracious. Let's go all the way. I don't want to skip the next person. You guys have put a lot of questions in. All right, let's see. All right, I don't know if I can get all the way to the top. Here we go. I found it. The next person. Okay, so your Bunny X wants to know, how do we fix our sleep schedule with much on our plate? Now, I'm guessing you're not talking about food, but instead talking about having a lot to do. Most of us have a lot to do. Here's the thing. You will do what you schedule. So if you know that sleep is important, sleep is when your body repairs itself. That is dedicated time for repair. So even if you're having the best food and you're drinking all your water and and all that, you're not going to get the same level of repair done to your body if you don't sleep. You need to schedule it and keep it holy. That is the answer. When it comes to self-care, when it comes to food, when it comes to sleep, schedule it and keep it holy and work everything else around it. You've got to do it. You have to have a bedtime that works for you, where you wake up in the morning and feel good. You should have a nighttime routine where you release stress. Do not work up until the time you go to bed, or you will lay there, thinking about your anxiety of the day. Have a relaxing routine. Schedule that into your life. You'll find you're even more productive when you do that. All right, let's see. Over on the Facebook side. I saw someone on Instagram said, you don't see me on Facebook, but I see me and I'm getting questions. So it is there on the Goodbye Lupus page, but if you're watching me here, that works, right? Let me see. Okay, Romina, I'm not sure I understand your question. It says, can you give me more info on the health maintenance after the 6-month detox phase? So there is no 6-month detox phase. I'm a little bit, so what I can say for health maintenance, let me just answer that, because I do get questions about that. And what do you eat when you're healthy? So detox is what I call that period of the first week or so where a lot of people feel worse before they feel better. It's just toxins are getting released, lots going on. Many people feel flu-like or a spike in symptoms in the first week when they're doing an aggressive nutrition program, and that's normal. But after that, if you're doing everything correctly and you don't have a food sensitivity, that should go away. What I tell people to do is that whatever it is that you decide to do for your health, keep doing it for at least 6 months to a year to make sure that you're healthy, right? So eat a very healthy, hyper-nourishing plant-based diet and enjoy the fact that you don't have symptoms. Maintenance is what I call the phase after that, where you have had no symptoms and you've been healthy for over 6 months. When people get to a maintenance phase, they can introduce the occasional inflammatory, what I call recreational food. Recreational mean you're doing it for fun, not for health. And if you do that and you still feel great, you're able to get away with it. So a healthy person should be able to tolerate some inflammation. If you can't tolerate inflammation, you're not fully healthy yet, right? So this year in October, it'll be 17 years lupus free. Can you believe that, Tom? 17 years. What? Lupus free. So I do not worry about eating inflammatory food here and there. While I do my smoothies and my water every day, I have a big salad for dinner pretty much every night. On the weekend, recreational food. We will eat an Impossible Burger, or I might have a vegan dessert. I don't eat any animal products, no matter what, but I tolerate it. I can have a drink, alcohol. does not cause any damage. So that's maintenance. Maintenance means you're maintaining good health. And so you continue to hypernourish, you eat a whole food plant-based diet, and 1 or 2 items a week, you can have something inflammatory. And if that does not bother you, you are healthy. If it does, get it out, go back to what was working for you, and just let yourself enjoy the fact that you're healthy and do fun things for recreation like you do during recovery rather than eat fun things. Smoothie Shred got a question?
Next question is from Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Question, my labs came back negative for thyroid antibodies. Is it possible for me to still heal from hypothyroidism through diet?
So does this mean that you've never had thyroid antibodies or you reversed your disease and no longer have thyroid antibodies? So the question was, I'm sorry, if I have negative for Hashimoto's antibodies, can I still reverse hypothyroid? So if you mean that you've never had thyroid antibodies and therefore don't have Hashimoto's, which is the most common cause of hypothyroid, autoimmune attack on the thyroid, can your thyroid function still go up? So I don't know the cause of your thyroid issue now. If it's not autoimmune, is it still inflammatory, or is it something else? So I don't know. What I do know is that if there's an inflammatory cause, if there's a diseased or damaged cells in your thyroid that can heal if nourished properly, then function will go up. If it's structural damage that's already scar tissue or caused by something else, then maybe not. But the good news is there's no downside to doing our protocol. If your thyroid doesn't get better, so other things will. It kind of reminds me, in our last group, we had someone who came in for uveitis, which we've had get better from multiple people now. Birdshot uveitis gets better on our rapid recovery protocol, right? But when he got into the group, it was really interesting to him that the first thing that got better was a skin condition he's had since he was 14. So for 30 years, he's had the skin condition, went away. And then after that, he realized he could suddenly smell again. He has not been able to smell anything since he was 7 because of nasal polyps, and they went away. So it was really interesting for him to track that, wait a minute, my body's just deciding to fix all these random things that I didn't even realize could get better. So there's never a downside to hypernourishment. We can't predict always what the result's going to be and how far you can go, but we know that your body will do its best. And if you're not getting results, always go to the next level, right? So from adding hypernourishment, goodbye lupus protocol, goodbye autoimmune disease protocol, where you're using the emotional help versus getting physical support from us, like in our rapid recovery program. So do the best you can optimally, see what results you can get, and then tell us all about it. Okay, Insta. Okay, hello all of you folks. Linguistic, Alina wants to know, can the protocol help with a pinched nerve in your neck? That, not necessarily. So this won't change a structural issue, right? Like if you have a compressed disc, it's not suddenly going to decompress. You're not going to grow new spots to your body that weren't there, but it can bring down inflammation. So for example, I mentioned in our last group, we actually had a physician, a retired family doctor with terrible osteoarthritis who no longer has pain from osteoarthritis. Now, osteoarthritis is caused by bone-on-bone rubbing. So it's not like she grew new tissue. However, people with osteoarthritis also have inflammation around the joint from that rubbing. And the paths between the joint are usually filled with water. And so when people are dehydrated, there's more rubbing. So when you add hypernourishment, you bring down inflammation, you add more padding, and so pain goes away. So if there's an inflammatory component to your pain, then yes, it will get better, but it's not going to suddenly grow more room in that disc space necessarily. Okay, and on Facebook side here. Okay. Turab, can my 27-year-old daughter's surgery on her hip joint damage from RA be prevented with hypernourishment? I'm sorry, your daughter is so sick. Potentially. So I have done rapid recovery with people with rheumatoid arthritis who were told, multiple people now, who were told that they needed hip surgery or knee surgery, who after 4 to 6 weeks no longer had that pain anymore. So if it is inflammatory pain, then there's a very good chance that you can get it better. Now, another reason why people need new joints, especially hips who have autoimmune disease, is often because they had necrosis of the joint because of steroids. So the prednisone or cortisol that people take to get rid of pain also causes bone damage and bone loss if it's been taken chronically over time. So some of the things that can save you also have some really rough side effects. So if she's had avascular necrosis, I don't know that that's going to get better. But if it's inflammatory pain, there's a good chance that it can. And again, there's never a downside to trying. Smoothie Shred.
Subhatra, I've had chronic hives for the last 10 months. It has drastically decreased after following your protocol, but not completely gone. Can you suggest anything that will be helpful?
Okay, so that's really good news. So the question from Smoothie Shred is, I've had chronic hives for 10 months that have gone down following your protocol, but they're not completely gone. What else can I do? So, one would be to go aggressively more at it. If you know, so people can get hives for many reasons. For many people, it's an allergic reaction, but also it can be from anxiety. I had an anxiety patient who used to break out in hives on her chest whenever she got anxious, and it can also be caused by inflammation. So I have worked with people with both of those issues. So one, I'd look at, is there an anxiety component of it? Have you noticed that it gets worse when you're stressed? Goodbye Autoimmune Disease Protocol would be the way to go for that. And two, make sure you're optimizing what you're doing. Are you cheating? Are you doing it strictly? Are you doing the raw protocol? Or are you still eating cooked food? So I would go up to the next level in terms of your nutrition and make sure you're getting all the emotional help that you need. Okay, let's see. Next on Instagram. All right, I already answered one about gallbladder pain Duval, so we're gonna go to the next one here. Okay, Tiny Pepper 23. I love Instagram names. I used your protocol to put my mixed connective tissue disease in remission. Woohoo! That's fantastic news. All right. I am having issues with POTS. Have you ever treated something similar? Yes, actually. A lot of folks who've joined my group, my rapid recovery group, have also had issues with POTS and autoimmune issues like Hashimoto's and POTS or other autoimmune diseases and POTS, and they have had great results. So what I would say is to go all in until you can get all of your conditions resolved or resolved as much as possible. So it might be that the protocol fixed the mixed connective tissue disease first, which for those of you who don't know, is it means you have symptoms and signs or labs of multiple different autoimmune diseases at once. So the fact that that went into remission, doing the best you could in my protocol without even knowing me, fantastic, right? Maybe if you kept going, your body would then work on the POTS. So if you still have stuff left over, keep going until you can get into remission in every possible way. And if you're stuck, maybe at that point it would be a good idea to maybe make an appointment with me or something where I could look at what you're doing, make sure it's all optimized, and then maybe that will be how you finish it. But it sounds like you're already on the right track if you've said goodbye to autoimmune disease. So I'm proud of you for that. I'm really excited to hear it. Okay, Facebook side. Robert, hi Robert. I'm juicing the equivalent of a pound of greens and I'm getting reflux. Any advice? First advice is don't juice. This is a protocol where we're using the entire food. The reason we use smoothies is it's an easy way to get all the food in if you don't have to chew it all. You put a straw in, you drink it, and you're hyper-nourished, right? When you juice, you've actually removed the fiber. You're not getting all the minerals. It's now a processed food. It's not giving you everything that you needed. Not processed in terms of inflammatory, but no longer intact. Okay, so do not do the juicing. If you misspoke and you meant that you were eating it and blending it, sometimes people say juice when they mean smoothie. If you're doing smoothies and you're getting reflux, then I would say to try to decrease the dose. All right, sometimes it could be related to what food you eat, like pineapples or some lemons. Sometimes people feel more reflux with that, so experiment with the fruit a bit, and also go for smaller doses. Split those doses into small ones and maybe have a small cup of smoothie every 90 minutes to 2 hours or so, and see if that level will move through your body without coming back up. Smoothie Shred.
Okay, from Lorraine, I have eczema, psoriasis, hair loss and hair thinning, osteoarthritis. Should I continue taking turmeric with black pepper and vitamin B complex while I'm doing your protocol?
Okay, so the question is whether or not B complex and turmeric can be used while on protocol, and the answer is yes. Listen, our protocol is great for all the conditions that you just named. Too many to repeat. So you're in the right place in terms of that. Turmeric is not, it doesn't remove the cause of your illness, but studies on curcumin do show that it works as an anti-inflammatory without all the side effects of things like ibuprofen. So if you're using curcumin or turmeric and it's helping you with your symptoms, you can do that. It's not going to change the cause, but it can give you symptomatic relief. B12 is the most important vitamin to supplement with. Make sure you're testing your levels. I will put this warning out there. If you are using something like B complex, which has multiple different B vitamins, make sure you're not getting multiple sources of different vitamins, especially B6. I recently had a client come to me who developed a neurological issue because he was taking B6 from multiple sources and accidentally overdosed in the B6, and that caused damage. So just look at all of your vitamins. The great thing about taking food as vitamins is you never overdose, you never absorb more than you need. When you use supplements, sometimes you can. So B12 is safe actually even in high doses. D is safe even in high doses, but some of the other supplements aren't. So just make sure that you're looking at that. But for the question you asked, yes, absolutely, you can keep doing that. All right, Instagram, let me zoom in over here. Krista McGray, does the water you put in your smoothie count towards your water intake for the day? Yes, it does, absolutely. And let's see, let me refresh over on the Facebook side. Okay, let me see. All right, Mikkel asked positive ANA but negative anti-dsDNA. What does that mean? Okay, so positive ANA. ANA is an anti-nuclear antibody. It means that you have antibodies against the nucleus of your cells. And the only reason you would have that antibody is because the contents of your cell were exposed to your immune system, which means cells were broken open. And so you develop some antibodies against some of those nuclei, okay? Now, or part of the nuclei. Now, I don't know how positive your ANA is, and that's a big issue that comes up a lot. ANA by itself is not diagnostic of disease, okay? Even though a lab test will say it's positive when it's 1 to 80 or 1 to 160, rheumatologists do not consider that positive, and they often get very angry when people randomly run ANAs and it's positive 1 to 160, and they send an asymptomatic person with a positive ANA and they go, nothing we can do. So one, levels of ANA are not necessarily positive in terms of clinical significance, even if they're positive on a lab. And two, they're not diagnostic. A lot of people are walking around with some level of positive ANA that are not positive for disease. So it's really helpful in the context of symptoms. So if you have symptoms of extreme fatigue and skin rashes and joint pain and a positive ANA, that can lead your doctor down the path of an autoimmune diagnosis. But ANA by itself, not necessarily unless it is very high. So while that really only affects your diagnosis, it doesn't affect what you have to do. I had someone who was just writing to me, there might be a space opening up in my group because it's someone who signed up for the group who's like, well, I still haven't gotten a diagnosis yet, so maybe I should wait till September, but she's got fatigue and pain and rashes. And I went, are you kidding me? Join the group and heal before you get the diagnosis rather than wait. So even if you don't have a diagnosis, but a positive ANA and symptoms, do the protocol, do the Hyper-nourishing Protocol, watch the classes if you haven't yet. They're at goodbyelupus.com. Learn what to do, reverse it. You don't ever need to name it. It's not like the end of the never-ending story, one of my favorite movies. You don't need to name it for it to go away. You can just reverse it using our protocol either way. Smoothie Shred.
Hey, Susie, should men avoid flax and chia seeds due to hormonal issues?
So the question from Smoothie Shred from Susie is whether men should avoid flax and chia seeds due to hormonal issues. And the answer is no. There is no hormonal issues associated with flax and chia seeds. So my guess is you're thinking about the phytoestrogens that are in flax seeds, which is also in soy products like tofu, edamame. Phytoestrogen, while it does act on estrogen receptors, what it does is it blocks estrogen from binding. So if anything, that's going to make a man have less estrogen exposure, not more. And that just makes them manlier. It also is very beneficial to women because women who take in phytoestrogens like from flax seeds have lower incidences of breast cancer. So unfortunately, misunderstandings about nutrition often will spread like a wildfire. And so people think phytoestrogen sounds like estrogen and therefore it's estrogenic, but it's actually the opposite. So no issue there at all. All right, let's see, Instagrammers, what you got for me next? All right. Crochelle 2020, 20-year-old with big tonsils. Can diet help? I don't want to get tonsils out. Well, I don't know why you have the big tonsils. So some people just naturally have bigger tonsils than others. There's a lot of variation in those. If they are inflamed and painful, then there's something going on in your immune system. So personally, I'm not a big fan of removing parts of the immune system when that's avoidable. So when tonsils come out, you now are missing a part of your immune system. And it's very much the Western medicine way. And yes, I'm still a Western medical doctor, but it's the Western medical way is like, what's this? I don't know, take it out. Oh, it's inflamed, remove it. Versus like, like, I wonder if this is a signal of a problem going on in the body. And if we solve the problem, maybe the symptom will go away. It's a check engine light. Hey, something's going on here. So if they are inflamed, then you've got an issue with your immune system, low immunity, autoimmunity, something going on. So if it's just size alone, I wouldn't worry about it unless it's obstructive, like you're snoring, you're not breathing at night, they're pressing down and you're obstructing your breathing, then you might need to have them trimmed or removed. But if they're inflamed, I think it'd be important to do hypernourishment, try to get your immune system as functional as possible, see if you can actually heal the underlying issue, and maybe you won't need to remove them after all. All right, Facebook. Sarah Solars, Brant, can I eat fermented food on the Goodbye Lupus protocol? Yes, you can have some fermented foods. I don't recommend a lot of it. So if you are trying to do aggressive healing, use it as a condiment, maybe a quarter cup a day or so as a condiment to make things taste good, but it doesn't count towards hypernourishment. Smoothie Shred.
From Kelly. How long after starting the healing protocol does detox begin?
All right, so the question is, how quickly can detox start when you're trying to work on disease reversal? So I'm guessing you mean on the raw protocol, the most aggressive protocol. Usually it kicks in about day 3 or 4. That's the most common thing we see is about day or 4. So in the beginning, it's, oh, I feel fine. And then all of a sudden, so let's say you start on a Saturday, usually by Tuesday, Wednesday, all of a sudden you're like, ugh, do I have the flu? Why am I achy today? So that's usually what I see. Now in our rapid recovery programs, that's usually gone within a week, but we are optimizing every area of their life to make sure that they're getting through that as quickly as possible. People doing it on their own, I know in Smoothie Shred, sometimes people will say it lasts longer, but I don't know how they're eating, whether they're optimizing the water, etc. But that's the typical amount of time. All right, let's see what Instagram's got for me. Aw, thank you, Andy. That's so nice. All right. Okay. Lizzie Lou, suggestions for hair loss. I have not had COVID or the vaccine, so that's not one of the reasons. Thank you. So you're heading off any of the reasons. So hair loss is very complicated. I actually recommend you watch the video I made on hair loss. It's on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube because there's so many different reasons people can have a hair loss. So while autoimmune disease is one reason, and if that's the reason, then definitely doing our protocol is the best idea. If it's not scar tissue, just inflamed, it will grow back, and that's what we've seen is a lot of people's hair grow back. But there are many other reasons. It can be a reaction to stress. It can be a reaction to having too hypothyroid. There's just so many different things. So I would kind of have that checklist. Like, what do I do about my nutrition? Okay, I'm going to hypernourish. I'll do the Goodbye Lupus protocol, right? Or the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol to make sure that there's no stress as well. Check your thyroid, make sure you're getting your daily iodine intake, all of those kind of things to make sure that there's no other reason outside of it, and you give your body its best chance to heal that problem and grow that hair back. Okay, let's refresh on the Facebook side. All right, great questions, everybody. Really, really good. Okay, let's see. Andrea, or Andrea, depending on what part of the world you're in. In New York, it was Andrea. And then I moved to California and it was Andrea. So whichever one it is. My mom has microcytic anemia due to lupus. Could she change her diet to plant-based? Her doctors are always recommending red meat and she's reluctant to follow the protocol because her hemoglobin level is 10. This is a really, really good question. So microcytic anemia means that you have anemia, which means your red blood count is too low and the red blood cells are too small. The reason red blood cells are too small would be from iron deficiency. Red blood cells being too large is often from B12 deficiency. So you would look at your MCV on your CBC test to see, is your blood cell size normal, too small, too big? So microcytic anemia means too low red blood count and the red blood cells you do have are too small, indicating iron deficiency. Unfortunately, when it comes to microcytic anemia, all of a sudden doctors who have no understanding or recommendations about diet in the normal day suddenly think they know the answer and they'll say, oh, eat more meat because that has more iron in it. But that's not going to work. Number one, because eating more meat is going to make the lupus worse. So if part of the reason that her bone marrow is not functioning well enough to make enough red blood cells is because of lupus, then eating more meat will make lupus worse and she's going to have a lot more problems and no solutions. The second is, my bet is that she's been following their instructions and since you're posting this, she still has the problem, right? So it didn't cure her. So what I believe, and what's really important in my practice and what my husband and I do is we go by results. If what you're doing was working, you wouldn't be asking me the question. And if it's not working, you have to be willing to let it go. So meat's not going to fix this. So one, she needs iron. And if you have so little iron that you have anemia because of it, take the iron supplement. Even eating the most iron-rich foods, like, using spinach in your smoothies, for example, and getting your chia and all that, it's too little, too late, to try to build up your stores to then create, excuse me, to then create more blood. It's just, you don't want to wait for that. You need to get your blood stores up so that you can feel like a person, so that you can have energy and function, right? So her hemoglobin being 10 is not so low that it's dangerous. She needs a transfusion, but if she's microcytic, she needs iron. So my suggestion is kick out the meat, do the Goodbye Lupus protocol, take your iron supplements, beat the lupus, get the blood levels up, and she'll be feeling a lot better far more quickly. All right, smooth as shred.
Rooftop.
Let me drink some water.
Can food sensitivities cause silent inflammation? These are symptoms that don't get aggravated, but markers worsen. If so, what's the best way to unravel sensitivities?
Can food sensitivity cause silent inflammation where you have no symptoms, but the markers are elevated? Is that what it says, Tom? Okay. Interesting question. So I'll break it down. Can food sensitivities cause inflammation? Yes. It's your inflammatory immune system that not only affects your, whether or not you have viruses, bacteria, other things, but also allergies. So food sensitivities are usually mediated by your inflammatory immune system. That's why we're very careful to look at that with people when they're not getting the results that we want as quickly as we want. We suspect a food sensitivity, take things out. If it gets better, then we know that was the reason. So yeah, absolutely. However, if you're asymptomatic, first of all, great. I don't know if that's the reason though. If you're saying that you were symptomatic and now you're asymptomatic, then that sounds to me like whatever you're doing is working and your blood work just hasn't caught up yet. So you have to be very careful about how you draw conclusions of what you're looking at. If you've always had abnormal markers and never had symptoms and you're trying to figure out why, I'd be looking at other things. But yeah, it could be a food sensitivity. Those are things you can test. It could be that you have inflammation from your stress or depression or anxiety or other issues like that, or from foods, and the inflammation just hasn't built up enough yet to cause a symptom. But if it's the other way around where your symptoms have gotten better and now your markers are still hanging on, it just means you need more time. Okay, Insta, let's see what you got for me. Captain Chris 2788. Instagram has the best names. Yes, everyone who has done our rapid recovery group for long haul COVID has had full recovery, even of their smell, usually within 3 weeks. Even my private clients that have done wellness appointments have fully recovered from long COVID. So my understanding at this point from long COVID, from my experience in working with people, is that, this virus is extremely aggressive, as everybody knows who's lived through it. It has been extraordinarily deadly, more so than anything I've ever witnessed in my career in 20 years. And so I think because it is such an aggressive virus, people who survive it, it often depleted everything they had. So their immune system was able to fight back enough to survive, but not enough to get them back to baseline. And then when we hyper-nourish them and get them to sleep and de-stress and let the nutrients work, they quickly repair the damage and get back to normal. In fact, usually they say they felt better than they did before they got sick. And that's because the reason they got depleted from the virus is they were already on the path to getting sick, because they were already getting depleted from a lifetime of not treating their body well. But so far, so good on reversing long haul COVID. It's definitely worth doing. Okay, let's see here. Ogolinda from Nigeria. The only cruciferous vegetables available is green cabbage and spinach. Will it work with your protocol? So while spinach is not cruciferous, it is high nutrient. So if you use cabbage and spinach, that will work great. No problem there. Smoothie shred. Let's see what we got time.
Suggestions for severe scleroderma.
Yes. Absolutely. So suggestion for severe scleroderma is going to be to go all in on the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol. So we have had the honor of working with people with very late stage scleroderma in our rapid recovery group. One day I hope one of our clients who had that will let us show her pictures from recovery. One person I'm thinking of right now, she was so end stage, she couldn't raise her eyebrows. She could barely open her mouth. Thank goodness for smoothie straws. She was in physical therapy twice a week to try to keep keep her stretching. She's a single mom. And so, she needed to be able to take care of her daughter, but she was barely able to move. And because she was going in so frequently, they were testing her all the time. And in the first 2 weeks of our rapid recovery group, her skin elasticity went up 20%. They were shocked. She ended up staying with us for 2 rounds because she just wanted to keep going as far as she could. We graduated after that. She was an expert, fixed all the other areas of her life. There was a lot of stress, depression, relationship issues, all these things, helped her overcome all of those things. And of course, really worked on her hypernourishment. And by the end of the program, she could wrinkle her forehead. All of the lines and ridges in her neck and shoulders from these rigid skin had gone away and softened. She could smile. And she said that she'd never thought she'd be so excited to see wrinkles in her face, and she did. So that's someone with very late stage. In our very last group, we had someone with scleroderma who had these chronic ulcers on the tips of her fingers that made it painful to touch anything. And she's in a special scleroderma clinic, a specialty clinic, where they're trying to find a medical cure for these ulcers, but have not found it yet. And her ulcers, just like everybody else's, was gone within the first 3 weeks. And they're now, trying to figure out how the heck we did that. And I told them to call me. But yes, with severe scleroderma, you have to act aggressively. We need to stop this disease. It is a scary, horrible disease, but it is reversible. You just have to take very aggressive action. So I would say go full in on the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol. And if you're struggling to get it right, then do rapid recovery so that we can help you get better before it gets any worse. Okay, Insta. Hi, Dr. Brooke. It's Brooke. Hi. Let me see. Jane Elizabeth Photography. How do you handle food sensitivities? Most of my sensitivities are from plants and I have severe eczema. Sure, absolutely. So food sensitivities, it's really interesting because a lot of people who come to me with autoimmune started out with food sensitivities that were new. And then a lot of people with food sensitivities also then develop autoimmune, or the vice versa. People with autoimmune disease suddenly develop food sensitivities that they never had. So again, there's overlap in the inflammatory immune system in that area. So when we get your immune system healthier using the plants, then those sensitivities should get better too. And a lot of times it can feel really murky, the cause and effect, right? That it seems like when I eat animal products, my symptoms seem better. And then when I eat plants, I feel worse. But meanwhile, the animal products are creating more of the disease. And then you can't recover from it. So when we test for food sensitivities, number one, I don't usually order testing, but if people have had them done, we honor that and we find which foods are hyper-nourishing that are not causing allergy in your test. But I also tend to just test them myself because sometimes things people react to are not on the test and vice versa. If I have very limited time with someone, so in rapid recovery, on one-on-one it's 28 days, and in the 6-week group it's 42 days. Usually instead of testing one thing at a time, I just do a dramatic change in limiting the most common culprits. So the way I do that is usually using a low histamine plan. It doesn't mean that you have a histamine issue, but the low histamine plan just happens to have the foods that people more likely react to. So things like spinach and avocados and tomatoes and things like that. Unfortunately, the things that also tend to make things taste the best. But if that works, then we know something on that list was what you were reacting to, and then we can slowly add things back until we find it. So that's usually the way I handle it. Okay, let's get to the Facebook side of things. You can handle probably a couple more. So let's see what we got. Okay. All right. Richard wants to know, what do you think about low platelet counts? Mine tend to be around 120, but when I don't take a vegan supplement, DPA supplement, it jumps to 150. Thoughts? So I've helped a lot of people reverse thrombocytopenia, which is low platelets. In fact, as I mentioned in our last group, we had somebody who reversed that. So if there's an autoimmune component to it, then our Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol is the way to go to help you with that. So any kind of issue with low blood counts that can be related to inflammation or disease, that's going to be the path to doing it. So I don't know if there's really a connection to your supplement or not, or if there's other things going on. But if it's autoimmune, then this is definitely the path that you want to take to getting yourself as healthy as possible, including your platelet counts. All right, let's get another round, and then I think we'll have to close it down. Let's go for it.
Adila. I'm following the Goodbye Lupus protocol for 6 months, and my pain was gone for 3 months. I've reduced Methotrexate from 6 tablets to 5 per week. 3 weeks later, my pain has returned. What should I do?
Okay, so this is someone who was pain-free on the Goodbye Lupus protocol for 3 months, and then 3 weeks after reducing one medicine, you're feeling resurgence. So number one, it could be reducing your medications too quickly. Realize that any medication that actually reduces inflammation or suppresses your immune system while you take it, if you stop it or reduce it, you can get rebound inflammation that is not actually caused by your disease, but a reaction to the medicine. For any medicine, when you withdraw that medicine, the side effect is the opposite of what it does. So people who are addicted to ibuprofen for their headaches, if they stop the ibuprofen, they get a headache, not because of the original reason, but because of withdrawal from the ibuprofen, and so on and so on. So I have seen people who've reduced steroids too quickly, for example, who've had a flare of symptoms and not disease, like a flare of pleurisy, but no lupus marker increase. And it was from the removal of the steroids. And then when they replaced the steroids and then did it more slowly, they were able to come off of the steroids without having that symptom. So that's one thing you might want to look into, is perhaps the withdrawal of the medicine was a bit too quick for you, or if you are able to get the pain gone again by giving it a little bit more time, then that's the way to go. The other thing would be to look at other factors. If it was 3 weeks later, perhaps it had nothing to do with that, but it was actually another issue. Did you change what you were doing with your diet? You know, did you reduce your hypernourishment? Did some stress go up? How about your sleep? So I'd be looking at other ways, other issues as well. Sometimes the first conclusion we jump to is not the right one. So I'd be looking at all of those different areas if we were working together to see if I could find any triggers and make a game plan for each one of those triggers. All right, last one from Instagram. Let's see what we got over here. I won't count this, but you love this, don't you, Doctor? Yes, I love connecting with the public and helping people. That is definitely something I love. And Spiritually Blessed wants to know, is it best to go plant-based with lupus? Yes! Yes. Spiritually Blessed, if you have not yet watched my classes, they're free online right now. Go to goodbyelupus.com and learn the protocol. You will be even more blessed when you go ahead and do that. And it helps not just lupus, but your health in general. You know, whether you're looking at cancer or heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune disease, animal products are one of the key foods that cause or worsen those diseases. So eating plant-based is definitely the safest way to go. And hyper-nourishing on a plant-based diet is the ultimate way to live. It's how I have all this energy and health, 17 years lupus-free, but not just free of disease, but optimally healthy. To be 45 years old and to feel better than I did as a teenager, yeah, I'm hooked on this and I do love it. And I hope that you love it soon too. All right, let's see what we got going on the Facebook side here. Arlene, can this help someone who's had a stroke with left side paralysis? Yes, actually. So I don't know if you guys were following me back then, but last year I had a gentleman sign up for Rapid Recovery with me for metabolic issues, okay? Diabetes, blood sugar, cholesterol. And we had just met and we were just getting started and he went in to get a cardiac cath, right? So it is a procedure where they put a tube into your vein to try to look at your heart blood vessels. Well, one of the risks of having that procedure is you could get a blood clot. So he went in on day 3 of us just meeting. He went and had that procedure and he had a stroke. The blood clot got dislodged by the tube and he had a stroke. And miraculously, I love this man, he decided to keep going with me. So he was having visual issues and all sorts of different, you know, he didn't have full paralysis, but definitely some major symptoms were going on. And he said, you know what, it happened while I'm with you, I'm doing the program anyway. And his wife helped him. And when he went in to see a neurologist 2 weeks later, the neurologist couldn't believe it. He said, the amount of recovery that's already happened looks like you are 2 to 6 months out from a stroke, not 2 weeks. He couldn't believe it. So it was actually very exciting to see that in an acute stroke, that hypernourishment and rapid recovery could make that much difference in the healing rate, which makes sense, right? What is this protocol specific for? Cellular repair. And so in an acute stroke, huge difference. In a stroke that's already happened, all we can do is see. We can hyper-nourish and go full out Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol and give the body the optimal opportunity to repair itself and then see what can happen. Whether it's neurological or lungs or kidneys or thyroid, what we have seen over and over again is that these organs can repair themselves. We have someone in a recent rapid recovery group. It was a man in his 70s who was on the transplant list for a double lung transplant, from autoimmune disease attacking his lungs. And on week 5, he went for a follow-up and he was kicked off of the transplant list. You remember that, Tom? That was amazing. Week 5, they said, your lungs are too healthy for a transplant. They were going to take his organs out of his body and give him new ones. And in week 5, he didn't need the transplant anymore. Right? We've seen people with Hashimoto's who no longer have antibodies, whose thyroid function goes up and they can lower their medicines or sometimes even get off of them. We've seen people come off of the kidney transplant list, people who have not urinated in months or years start urinating again. It is absolutely remarkable and astounding how much the body has an ability to repair itself when you give it what it needs. And I just feel so honored and excited every day that we've discovered a way to optimize that. I've said I've been in medicine 20 years. I was a genetic researcher, and nothing I ever learned, any intervention, any procedure, any medicine has ever had a more profound impact on people's health than hypernourishment has. So for any of you guys who are watching right now, please do it, right? This is free, right? I'm just spending my time with you for free to help you understand the nutrition your body needs. Now, how aggressively you need to go after it, that I don't know, because if I don't know you, I can't specifically tell you that, but I can tell you what nutrients you need. So right now, my classes are online for free till July 18th. I always put them up there with pressure to try to make you watch them. They're always available for purchase, but they are available for free right now because I want to encourage you to go and do them, learn them, take action on it, okay? And start getting your recovery going. If you're struggling with it, then get the help you need, whether it is going more aggressively at it, like going into the full Goodbye Lupus protocol, or getting the emotional part of it going with the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol. My books can help with that, versus getting help. I'm good at this. I've been doing this a long time. And so I'm very good at helping people identify what's getting in their way, whether it's emotional, whether it's how they're thinking about things, or whether it's actually food sensitivities or optimizing the protocol. So if you need help, get it. But for goodness sake, at least start, at least take action. It'll be the best thing you ever do. It really, really will. So I hope that helped you guys today. I'm glad to jump on and see all of you guys today. I do these as often as I can. I know I'm super busy, but I try to make time for the public whenever I can to help you guys out. Again, if you guys are looking for rapid recovery, my next 4-week program would be the last week of August. The July 22nd Rapid Recovery group is now fully booked, but we do have a cancellation list for people who want to try to get in or who are looking to get in, who want to secure their spot for sure in the September group. Or of course, there's wellness appointments or things. So if you need help, I'm here to help. But please at least take the free help and take action. Share it with everyone you know. I hope you have an amazing weekend and an awesome, awesome health and recovery. Good to see all of you guys. Bye till next time.